Hi guys, Mark's here, Everything Tenere. I'm in the garage again. This will be a never-ending story, but today we're actually going to replace my wheel bearings. I have a kit here from off the road, so I have the seals and I have all the different bearings. So 2 bearings for the front wheel and 3 bearings for the rear. So you have 2 bearings in the rear wheel and then 1 bearing with a collar in the Cush hub. So it can be a bit tricky because in the shaft here itself, or where you have the bearings, you have a cylinder or a shaft inside the bearings that's like pressed between the 2 bearings. And to be able to bash a bearing out, or if you want to use a bearing puller as I have here, you actually need to get this little shaft out of the way, so to say. And the best way to do that, and I will show you, I will put the tire up on the table, it's to use a big ass screwdriver, or as I have, a brass rod here with some tape on it, and then you just go to town. So the thing to think about, so you should start by removing the bearing on the Cush hub side. And why is that? Yeah, because if I move the camera closer here, maybe you can see that, you know, in the wheel itself we have a cylinder or a sleeve which the rear axle goes through to the other side. This sleeve is normally not loose like this. Maybe you cannot see it, but I can move my sleeve here around. And that sleeve is pretty much free floating in there, right? But to prevent that, if the bearings are not pushed and pushing on the sleeve on both sides, so that sleeve moves down like this, and you will have a big problem putting your rear axle in through the wheel. It's actually hold on the other side. So on the disc brake side, you actually have like a washer that sits around the sleeve and holds it in place. So that's why it's important that you start to removing the Cush hub side of the rear wheel, the bearing here. So just moving this sleeve around, you can take a big screwdriver or something, tape it up before so you don't damage the sleeve. I actually had taped this before. You put it in here and you bend. And you will push this sleeve to the side. So that means that now we actually, if we move the little everything around here, my tire here on the floor, it's best if you have some blocks or something underneath it. I take my trusty hammer and my little brass rod. I can actually see that I can drop it in now, and there I hit one side of the bearing. So after the first couple of whacks, you know, the bearing will come loose a bit, and then this little sleeve in here will be loose as well. So now it's very loose, and then shift side. So now I hit the bearing on this side of the tire, so I shift over to this side, and I do it left and right as well. I think that as I don't have anything underneath here, it will, you know, hit the ground. There we go. There we go. We got 2 things out, so I will show you now. So now we got out 1 wheel bearing here. My bearings weren't super finished, but they were, I think, pressed too hard against this, so I had a problem turning the bearing. I've done roughly 10,000 kilometers, so I thought, like, for next year, so I don't need to do this service next year when the rear wheel starts to go crap, I'll replace it now. And it's not super expensive to do this. Yeah, so that's why I do it. So here you can see the little sleeve we have in there, and that washer I was talking about. Mine is a bit bumped up. That's because I did it the wrong way. So remember, start removing the washer on the Cush hub side, right? And I will show you all the different dimensions on the wheel bearings. So if you get caught out there middle of nowhere and need to get wheel bearings, you can check this list. And there you have all the dimensions of the bearings, so you can go into a normal hardware store or a mechanic shop or whatever that maybe have bearings, and you can pick up whatever bearing you want, right? So that's it. So just remember, when you put this back and install it the correct way around. And now we're just gonna go to the other side. So we have this side of the bearing to get out. Will not be a problem. Just put it upside down and then hammer that one out. Before we go over and do that, I will show you the Cush hub. So I already removed my sprocket from this one because it will be removed. So the Cush hub also have a sleeve in it, and it needs to be pushed in from the outside to the inside, and it's fairly easily done. You can just take your mallet or whatever. It all depends on the temperature and how freaking tough this one is to get out. But if you take a nice size little socket, it's easily done. So I will put it over here and I will show you guys how it looks. We'll just bash it out. So this one is just slightly press fit, right? As I said, depending on the temperature, you know, if it's really hot, maybe it will come out easier. So this is the sleeve that sits in the Cush drive, and it's from the inside. You install this from the inside. Then of course you have the little rubber seal for keeping everything tight. And to get that one out, I will remove the wheel here. So to get the rubber seals out from, you know, both from the wheel and from the Cush hub, just take a flat screwdriver, find the bottom of it, and then just pry upwards. It can be a bit tight, but as long as you know you're replacing this one, it doesn't matter if it breaks. There we go. This one was actually tougher. Yeah, I guess if you would be to heat this up with a heat gun, it would pop out much easier. And you can see that I have plenty of grease there, and that's old grease, maybe from you know, me putting grease underneath the rim here and applying grease. So the front wheel is on the operating table. We will start with removing the little seal, which flew away. A lot of grease behind here. Maybe I have put too much grease. I will do the same on the other side. There we go. So for the front wheel you will have some more action down low, and it's the same on the front as in the rear. You shift the collar in here, or the sleeve, on the left side, so the side that we have the ABS ring on, because we do not have a washer on the sleeve as we have in the rear. It's another thing here, and I will show you when I remove the bearings itself. So what you do is just put your thing in, crack it a bit. Now it's moved to the side, and I can actually do this by just having the wheel standing. There we go. So we have one bearing that shot away in the far distance, and we have the little sleeve here, and you can see there is no washer or thing on the sleeve. But here you see it's a big opening, so you have the seat here for the bearing, and on the other side where we have the bearing, it looks a bit different. So I will just push out that bearing as well. So you can see it's a big round opening here. You have a seat for the bearing here. On the other side we have the seat for the bearing, but you can see that it's 3 little teeth there protruding. So those teeth is for the little sleeve to not move and fall down into the wheelbase, because then it will be really hard to get the front wheel axle in. So start with the left side of the bike when you remove the bearings. So left side bearings out first, and they should be the last to come in when you reinstall them. So now let's clean this up, and I will not bore you with a cleaning job, and I'll get back to you when it's time to put the new bearings in. And let's not forget, we have the bearing for the Cush hub as well. I will not show you guys that. It's even easier, you know, put it on that side. Put your favorite little socket that fits and match the inner part of the bearing, and just go mad on it. So I will not show you guys that. It comes outwards, so it's easy. But this is the biggest size of the bearings we have on the bike. And as you were not with me when I removed this bearing, this was the hardest one to get out because it's the biggest diameter. Now I cleaned everything out here, and here's the new one. The most important thing is that you get it in evenly. So if you can place something that's, you know, on top that is much bigger, that is good. And you know, it isn't the best if you hit this inner surface when you install the bearing, because it will put stress on the balls in the bearing itself. So you need to hit it on the outside, and that is not the easiest thing to do if you don't have any good tools for it. And this one is so big, so I don't have a socket that will reach all the way out to this surface. So I will start off with a piece of wood. It's actually just to get it started, and I will place that, and I first will give it a big smash, and it's seated straight away. So I will just smash it again. And now I cannot get further, and we can see that we have like 8 millimeters left. So now I need to just get these corners here. So I will bring out some more tools, or you can get your old one, and you can cut it up so you just have a little sleeve, or you push this one down with it, and you know, it's not the easiest to get out, so I don't think it's a really good idea. So I will find something that has the same diameter as this, which will not get stuck in there. Always find a solution. This is actually my fork seal driver, and it's just the right size, a bit too small, but I can expand it, and I will just hit it on these sides. And it's done. It's in. Sits securely, just one for good measure. So if you already have a shot bearing, you can for sure cut it off, cut it up so you get all the internals out. So you just have the ring, and you have a slit in the ring. so it doesn't, you know, get stuck in there, so you can pull it out. So now this one is done. What we have to do now is apply some grease, and I will put some I think lithium grease around here. We also need to install our bush and spacer into the bearing itself. Make sure it's clean. Need to use something which is a little bit. So it's in. So make good use of your sockets, as they are perfect for this kind of job. And so you don't do like this and hit it straight away, because you can make it dent in a bit. So when you put in your wheel axle, it can, you know, bind or whatnot. So that's in. We'll put that aside, and now we're gonna move to the rear and front wheel. So I'm gonna clean them out, and then you're gonna see me putting in the bearings there as well. I'll put it in place. And now I can just smack it like once with this one, because after that it will. So it's seated. Of course you can go around and put it in slightly. Make sure you just hit the outside of it. Then I just take a suitable socket. It's in, and this is a 32. If I would have a 33, that would be even better. Right, and remember now, you know, you started with removing the ABS sensor ring side, so you do the other way around. I will end with the ABS sensor side. We need to clean this one out a bit as well. So the rear wheel, you will not see me put in the nice little bearing in, because it's I'm out of battery any second now. And don't forget your little sleeve. Clean that off as well. And before you smack it in the last little smack, if you have your wheel axle at hand, you know, just stand the wheel up a bit, put your wheel axle through, so it just slightly sticks out, but not enough to be in the way for the socket that you use to bash it in, because it's easier if you center this with the wheel axis, because this will push onto this a bit, so it will not move around in there once you know, put the bearings in. Not enough. So I have my trusty little there we go. Now it's in there. And now I will do the same thing. There we go. We have a wheel So that's it, guys. Now you've seen it. You know, the hardest part is to remove the bearings itself, getting them in, using, you know, different size sockets and some ingenuity, you know, pushing the Cush hub bearing was for sure the most difficult to get out and to get in, or you had to use more force, I would say. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you have a fun time in the garage this winter working on your bike. I know I like to work on my bike, so I have a blast out here in the garage. It's just cold as a MF, but never mind. If you have fun, a bit of cold doesn't do you any bad. So stay safe, take care, and don't do anything stupid. Cheerios, bye bye.